Hey, good morning everybody. I'm out here at Cleburne State Park, and my goal today is to hike as many trails out here as I can. Hoping to get them all in today, and we'll see how it goes. It's about 7:30 in the morning on April 1st, 2022. About 45 degrees out here, perfect hiking weather, and I actually got a thermal on underneath this sun shirt, but I'm sure that'll come off pretty quick. Anyway, yeah, excited to get out here and do some longer hikes. We come out here all the time and do 1 to 3 mile hikes with the family, but they're all at school today and I'm off, so I'm out here to do something a little bit longer. So let's get after it. So here is the trail system here at Cleburne State Park, and you can see right there in the center of the shot, that's where I parked at, right there at the junction of the pink and yellow trails. And that's a good spot to be able to access a lot of the trails. Still don't know exactly how I'm going to go about this. I do know if I end up doing most or all the trails, I'm going to end up having to backtrack part of the way. But I think so far I'm going to go up the yellow trail, go do this darker green trail, and then hit the lime green trail to start my lake loop going all the way around the outside of the lake. So there's actually a very small amount of water flowing down through Camp Creek here, and this has all been dry for several months. We've been in a pretty good drought, but it's been raining the last couple weeks, and I think we got more rain on the way, so it'll be nice to get the spillway flowing again. So I'm making the turn right now to head toward the limestone loops, and those little signs with the colored arrows on them, Olivia and I actually helped put those up. That was kind of my project out here, but it takes an incredible amount of work, more than what you would think, and we only got them put up on a few of the trails, and nobody ever continued on and helped install any more of them. I'm sure they still have the materials for it here, and that is something I would like to finish up out here, because I think they look nice, and I think they're really helpful, especially out here, because a lot of the trails and junctions are pretty confusing. So I made it to the junction here, and this is where the dark green inner loop trail starts. You can head that way right there, or you can head this way up the hill right here. It doesn't matter, because they both come right back out to the same spot. So I like going this direction because it gets this big steep hill out of the way right at the start. The sun is just now coming up, and I don't know if you can hear the roar of the limestone plant back behind me, but if you come out to Cleburne State Park and you don't know what that noise is, that's the limestone plant that's just passed here. Sounds like they are rocking and rolling this morning. So this little small meadow that I'm coming out to, this normally has great wildflowers, and it should have some wildflowers here in another month or two, but I have heard since our winter was so dry that wildflowers aren't expected to be as good this year, but we'll have to see. This is normally a great spot hidden back here on the limestone inner loop trail. Here's one reason why the trails out here are a little confusing. One, they just pass back and forth close to each other. The colors are similar right next to each other. So take, for instance, this is a lime green trail marker. We're not on the lime green trail right now. We are on the dark green trail, which is the inner loop, and the lime green trail is the outer loop. Both nearly identical names, nearly identical colors. They pass directly next to each other and have junctions, so it's really confusing. I made a video, I think last year, about some of my tips and suggestions on how to not get lost on these couple trails, and I'll throw the description, or I'll throw the link down in the description of this video. But the main thing I can say is just stay on trail, don't cut the trail. Even though there's going to be lots of places on these trails where the trail passes directly next to where you just walked or where you're about to walk, just stay on trail. That's not the only marker that I've noticed that's the wrong color on the wrong trail. So don't freak out if you see that, and just know that that's just the way things are here at Cleburne State Park. See a fossil in the rock right there in the limestone, right on the trail. All right, so trail number 1 is done. We are done with the dark green trail loop, and we're right back to where we started, which is kind of how loops tend to go. And I'm headed right over here to the lime green outer loop trail, and we're gonna knock that one out real quick. So I haven't done the limestone outer trail in quite a while. I used to do it all the time, but been trying to do some of the other trails out here. Me and the family just came and did the limestone inner loop trail. I think it was a week or two ago. And so been a while since I've been on this one. Just keep in mind that when you do it, this is not a complete loop. The limestone outer trail is not a complete loop back to where you started, so you'll have to connect into another trail. I believe the Spillway Trail, the Coyote Run Trail, one of those, to end up looping back around. Cleburne State Park doesn't have a huge amount of elevation differences, as these trails do go up and down a lot, so you're just constantly going up these small hills. Once you get up to the top, it'll either keep going right back down, or you make a loop and come back down the same hill you just went up. But I think 2 or 3 years ago, my friends, the Texas Hikeaholics here on YouTube, they did a video and they said Cleburne State Park was really good workout state park because it's got so many ups and downs, and that is exactly right. There's only a couple trails out here that are completely flat. All the other ones are going to go up and down, up and down. A couple more of those fossils right here on the trail, and I never can remember what those are called. I'll look them up and throw it up on the screen, but that is probably the most common fossil you will, at least that you'll notice at Cleburne State Park. It's all in the limestone, spread out around the whole park. And they're just really huge, some sort of sea creature. Anyway, the kids always get a big kick out of seeing those. Here's a really good example of what I was talking about, the trails passing right by each other. So here's the trail that I'm on, headed off that way. Basically, it's going to make a big loop out in the woods and then come back. And right on the other side of this tree right here, there's the trail where I'm going to go back up. So one, that'll show you that that's how we're doing the up and down the hills, up and down the hills. That's one reason why we decided to put this sign right here, is just so people, if they saw that, they would know which way they need to be headed. But yeah, so that shows you how the trails go up and down some of the same hills, but it also shows how easy it would be to, if you're going to start cutting trails and trying to take shortcuts and stuff, how easy it could be to get turned around and end up retracing your steps right back to the same spot you were just at. That early morning sun coming through the trees. Love that. There's a little bit of a view through the trees. That right there is the top of the lime plant. That's where you hear some of that background noise coming from. So where we've been zigzagging for our hike so far this morning, it's going to turn into pretty straight trail for a long way. We are hiking along the property line here for the state park is right here, and just on the other side of that is property, is private property, and you'll see a house every so often. And I've never had a problem with any of the property owners or dogs or anything like that. This is definitely the flattest the trail's been all morning, and I'm able to cruise along at a pretty good speed. So all along this property line here in another month or two, we'll also have really good patches of wildflowers. Cleburne State Park mainly has bluebonnets and Indian paintbrushes, and we love coming out here every spring and checking out the wildflowers. Cleburne State Park and probably Meridian State Park, they both have great wildflowers, and I know there are probably other state parks and areas that have good wildflowers, but these ones definitely got it going on during springtime. Alright, so I just made it to a trail junction. This sign actually was not in the ground. It was just laid up in a tree over here, and it was pointing all sorts of different wrong directions, but I made it to a triple trail junction here. You head that direction right there, you'll be on the Spillway Trail, and this is the way that I just came from on the Limestone Outer Trail, and this direction right here is the Coyote Run Trail. So the way it's marked on the maps is actually the yellow, green, and red trail all combine right here and go this direction, but basically it's going to turn into the Coyote Run Trail out that way, and that is the way that I am going to go, this direction right here. This way right here, this is where I'm going to end the trip hopefully today, and finish up all the trails. So we head off this direction, still along the property line, and here in just a little bit there's going to be a side trail to head down to the lake and get our first good view across the lake. So we're only a couple minutes up the trail. We are to the turn for the overlook, and this is where the Limestone Outer Trail ends, and we are now on the Coyote Run Trail. So the Coyote Run Trail is one of our favorite trails out here at Cleburne State Park. We normally hike it from the other end, and you'll be rewarded with this little meadow here toward the end of your hike if you start on the other end. And like I said, on some of the other ones, this one will have great wildflowers here in a month or two. And then you follow the trail down this way, make it through the trees, and we will be at the lake. So this is the lake here at Cleburne State Park. This is our first view of it, even though there are several trails you can see it from. It's not a huge lake, and it's down a little bit right now. Like I said, we've been needing some rain, but there is a spring that fills this up, so it's never going to get way down like some other state parks might. The actual spillway, the famous part, Cleburne State Park, is right back behind these trees right here, right over in the corner of the lake. Making our way around here. That right there in the center, that silver thing, is the newer fishing pier they put in maybe 5 years ago, maybe a little longer than that. And then way out on the far corner, that is the main like restrooms. There's a meeting area, big outdoor patio with big outdoor fireplace and things like that. That's where the playground and all that stuff's going to be here. And then there are some campsites just behind these trees over there for like RVs and things like that. Real quiet lake. It's a no-wake lake, so you don't get a ton of boats. You get lots of kayakers and things like that, but you can bring your boat out here and go fishing and have a lot of great memories as a kid coming out here to catch fish. Heading back up to the main trail. This little side trail isn't very long, less than a quarter mile. So if you're passing by this way, it's definitely worth it. Especially, like I said, if it is wildflower season. So we are now back on the main trail. There's the fence line right there, and the Coyote Run Trail will pretty much follow the fence line for the majority of its duration. And like I said, I'm headed backwards from what we would normally hike this. It is a one-way trail, so I guess we do normally hike out and back, but this is a pretty fun trail for kids. There's a geocache on this trail that if I remember, whenever we walk by, I'll try to stop and show you, and my kids love checking that out. Nice place to rest there in the shade, right alongside the Coyote Run Trail. So we just started seeing these interpretive signs that the state park has put up, and I know they're definitely along the Coyote Run Trail, and those are really nice. I love when parks put things like that up. It's great for kids and great for people who are not from that area to see exactly what a lot of the plants are. Here's another one right here. This is a super common tree out here. So I am really close to that last sign that I just showed you. It's right up here at the top of the hill, and you might see a faint trail here into the woods. This is right off the Coyote Run Trail, and this is right back to where you can find what I know to be the best geocache in the park. And it's right there at the base of that tree. You can see it kind of hidden there, that ammo can. Open that up and there'll be little toys and things like that, coins and stuff that people leave. And you can sign your name in the register. That's always fun for kids to check out. And then we're right back on trail. So that's the best geocache that I know about in the park. And I don't know, I never really got into geocaching. I remember doing it whenever I was younger, back before GPSs were really common. And I just know you could look up online, and you could take like detailed descriptions. It would say like, you know, hike a half mile or walk 100 yards and look for the tree that looks like a pitchfork, turn left, walk this many steps. And anyway, and I thought that was fun, but now you can just look them up on your GPS and you just walk right to them. So not quite as challenging, but still pretty neat. Kids love to check them out, and it's a cool thing to keep them interested. My kids have been to that one a dozen times and they still like finding it. Finally got on a mostly dirt trail. Most of the trails out here at the state park are limestone, so they're pretty rough on your feet, and it is nice to get on something that's dirt every once in a while. Sometimes during the wetter months, this will have water flowing through it. So I just came to the junction. This is the end of the Coyote Run Trail up this direction, and off that way start the Fossil Ridge Trail. I'm gonna head over here, complete the Coyote Run Trail, and then hit the little short, they call it a fishing trail, that's right over here next to the campground, and I'll head back this way. So this is the trailhead. This is the end of the Coyote Run Trail. This is the trailhead where we would normally start this trail at. I'll give you a little update of where we're at right there. And right here is where I'm going to run over and hit this little fishing trail and get back on the trail here and start following the Fossil Ridge Trail all the way around and take it down here, do the Camp Creek loop as well. And not sure exactly what order I'm going to do the fishing trails and the Whitetail Hollow Trail, but at some point I'll get all those in there. A little small picnic area out here, and this is where you'd park around the trailhead. This is the very end of the road here at Cleburne State Park, as far back in here as you can go. And it's right over here, right off of the Popular Point, I can't remember what exactly it's called, campground. It's where the mainly RVs stay at, but it's probably the nicest campsites because some of them are right on the water. You can pull your kayaks and stuff right up to your campsite. We're gonna turn right here head just over into this campground, and that's where the trail will start. And there's not much to this trail. Just a little small trail. I definitely wouldn't make a special trip out here to do this one. I believe it'll take you over here to a couple fishing spots, or it's a cool place for kids to play if you're camped out right here next to this campground. And I believe one of the rangers told me years back they used to have primitive sites here, like no electricity, no water. Used to be right in off this trail. Yeah, you can see right there, you'd be able to walk right down to the water. This definitely used to be a road, and I can see some of the old pipe fence and stuff, I guess, where you could pull your car up to if you were camping down in there. I don't know how long ago that was, but I don't remember it. And so it hadn't been any time in the last 15 years or so. Been a long time ago. And here we go, coming out to the end of the trail. So just a real quick, short trail to connect into the fishing spots there. I'm gonna walk back on the road and be right back over at the Fossil Ridge Trail. There we go, Poplar Point camping area. But it is also popular. You have a hard time getting a reservation in here on a weekend. And that trail that I just took starts out right there in front of that very first campsite. So it's right inside of the campground. All right, so I've made it to the junction. That's the way we came from a while ago on the Coyote Run Trail. And we are going to turn left here and start the Fossil Ridge Trail. This trail also will go all the way around the boundary of the state park. And me and Caden came and did this trail when we were training for our backpacking trip back in January. And it's a good one because it's long, really rocky, up and down. So it's a good one to train for some of those West Texas hikes. All right, coming into this big meadow. Believe it or not, I don't ever remember this meadow having lots of wildflowers. I think this is part of their septic here at the park, part of their water treatment at least. So I wouldn't go like hanging out over there a bunch, but during summertime, this little stretch right here can be brutal all out in the sun. We like to play a little game when I'm hiking with the kids where anytime we're gonna be out in the sun, we try to hurry quick, get back into the shade, but I'm pretty sure that's what that area over there is. All part of their water system here at the park. So we started up a hill, and like I said, these are all around the park, just up and down. You do get several flat sections on this outer loop or lake loop, whatever you want to call it, the connecting trails that go all the way around the lake. But there are a lot of ups and downs. So we're walking right past the Keyhole Loop. Here's the trail right here, and here's some of the campsites. We actually stayed in this campsite right there a couple weekends ago when we were here. So it's pretty nice to be able to come right out of your tent and jump right on trail. And then not to mention right up here is a big ravine or little wash or whatever, and the kids had a great time playing in that. So all this kind of undergrowth, these little skinny tree looking things, they grow straight up. That stuff is called privet, I believe. And one of the rangers told me that I believe the CCC planted that, or at least the park planted that a long time ago. And it's invasive, it's not native, and it's kind of taken over. Right out there is another campground. I don't remember what the name of that one is. Maybe Shady something. Anyway, with a turn right here, you're not actually going to go out to the campground itself. You just turn and stay over in the trees to stay on the Fossil Ridge Trail. If somehow you did end up over there, there is another entrance to the trail farther up here. So I'm doing all this from memory. I don't have a map with me, but I've been out to Cleburne State Park, you know, probably 100, 200 times in my life. and the majority of those have come in the last 10 years, so got a pretty good idea of how to get around out here. So if I call something by slightly wrong name or something, I apologize, but yeah, no map. And if you're hiking Fossil Ridge, Coyote Run, any of these trails that go along the outside of the park, and you're wondering what all this purple painted stuff is, or purple signs, or purple fence posts, that basically means no trespassing. That's fair warning, letting you know that is private property. So like I said earlier, please respect the landowners and don't trespass over onto their property. I've never had any problems out of any of the property owners right around here, and I'd hate for them to have a problem with hikers or anybody getting over on their land. So unlike some of the other trails, Fossil Ridge Trail is not really a great trail for wildflowers if you're coming out to see that specifically during the spring. There's not a big open area or anything like that like there are on some of the other trails. So in my experience, Cleburne State Park's not a great park for wildlife viewing. There obviously are animals up here, but I think by far the best time to see them would be really early in the morning, like right when I drove in. I saw some deer, or really late in the evening, or even at night. There used to be a lot of raccoons at the park. You don't hardly see them anymore. You'll see armadillos, deer. There are hogs out here, and the hogs, this is actually the only trail I've ever seen one while I was actually out hiking. They were right on the fence line, little babies, and they took off anyway. But you'll definitely see signs of hogs all along the trails where they've been rooting up and things like that. It's a water tank up here on top of the hill. I'm sure that supplies pressure down to the picnic area and stuff. This is just a maintenance road right here, so not a part of the trail. You don't want to head off that way. Make your way through these, in between these two fences, and continue on down the property line here on the Fossil Ridge Trail. So we just came to a little small junction. This is the way that I just walked from right here. And you see this trail going to the left and the trail going to the right. To the right is the actual trail that is heading along the property line. Over here to the left, that will take you down to the picnic area and bathrooms and things like that. It's a little tiny short trail. So right here on the other side of this fence, that starts the lime plant. And you can see a digger back there in the background actually working. You'll hear lots of noises coming from over here while you're at Cleburne State Park. So I made it to another junction. This is the way I came, and same situation. That trail there to the left is down to the playground picnic area. And over here to the right along the fence line is the Fossil Ridge Trail continuing on. This is the first time I've started feeling tired. And I mean, the Fossil Ridge Trail just seems like it goes on forever. And it's a lot of the same thing right along the property line. And definitely wear you out. All right, so we're coming out to an opening here right at the road. This is the main park road. The Fossil Ridge Trail continues on in the woods that way, right around the fence line. And I am going to cross the road to right there is the start of the Pink Trail, which is the Whitetail Hollow Trail. I'm going to jump on it for just a second, only to access the fishing trails that run along the lake. And then I'm going to hike those trails real quick and stop and have a snack at the picnic area and refill my water. And then I will make my way back over here and hop back on the Fossil Ridge Trail. Go ahead and knock that out. So coming out to the dam area, and so this would be the corner of the Pink Trail. You follow it along the dam out that way where you can see those people in the distance hiking, and back down this direction where it snakes through the woods. This is right at the corner of it. And straight across the lake right there in the center of the shot, that's where we came out on the Coyote Run overlook earlier. That's where we were standing at. Right at the end of this dam will be the spillway. But we are going to hop on these little trails here, which are relatively flat and fairly easy. And they'll come out at a parking lot every once in a while right along the lake. And these are mostly used to access different fishing spots or viewpoints along the lake. But we're going to head over to the picnic area. These little fishing trails are really nice for hiking with kids, especially if you don't have much time here at the park, or if you just came for a picnic over at the picnic area, bathrooms, playground area. These trails are easy to hop on and provide you with pretty much constant view of the lake. There's a bench there to take a break and take in the view. Fairly wide open spot here to fish. We fished here a couple times. Never had much luck. We're coming out at the end of this first little section, and you have to walk along the road for just a little ways. Luckily, the state park just trimmed up all these trees, so you can get over a little farther than you used to could. Definitely don't want to be too close to the road on this little section. I'll walk across this little area. It's not really a picnic area, but pretty decent place to fish. And then the hiking trail will be in the woods right across here. There you can see the fishing pier. We're getting pretty close to them. We'll walk right across that parking lot here in a minute. And we saw that from across the lake when we got to that viewpoint. So that section of trail comes out right here, and you're going to want to turn in to where it says boat ramp over here toward the boat ramp and fishing pier. And then the next section of hiking trail will be right over in the center of the shot, right next to the boat ramp. And we're pretty much done with the fishing trails. Those three little sections, and we came right out at the end of the big picnic area here. This is where I like to shoot a lot of my gear videos and stuff. I do, especially hammocks, because you got tons of place to hang stuff up. Might can see through the trees. There's a place to rent kayaks right over there, and you can take those out on the lake. I believe they have life jackets and everything over there. I love this area during spring and summertime, especially on weekends. There's going to be a lot of people in through here cooking in these little barbecue grills and stuff. Not right now because there's a burn ban, but you can bring your own barbecue grill that completely closes and still cook out here. And there's a little small beach area over there. Definitely not the greatest thing in the world. It was a nice place for the kids to get in the water, and there were kids already getting in there mid-March. We were out here. I know the water's got to be cold. Got some chicharrones, some pork skins, and a little bit of hot sauce. Just pour our hot sauce right there. Woo! Also, getting back on trail, having one of these sweet and salty nut bars. Those are super good. So I took about a 5-minute break. It's going to take me about 15 minutes to walk back across these fishing trails. And I'll be back over on the Fossil Ridge Trail. I'm back across the road here, right over to the Fossil Ridge Trail. Hop right back on here and continue on. Our next trail up will be the Camp Creek Loop, which is the purple trail, and this Fossil Ridge Trail will run right into that. So made it to a trail junction. That starts the Camp Creek Loop right there, the purple trail. This right here runs down to a trailhead parking lot, which I'm gonna go tag real quick just to do this little section, and then we'll come back and get back on the Camp Creek Loop. And here is the end of the trail for the Fossil Ridge Trail. You can see parking lot's starting to fill up. Still space for a couple more cars. But here we are down here at the bottom now. And I'm gonna come back on this and run around this Camp Creek Loop. And then start on the Spillway Trail. Come over, hit the Whitetail Hollow, and then finish the Spillway Trail. So only a few trails left to go. So let's go knock out the Camp Creek Loop. So I remember that sign a long time ago when I was a kid. This gives the information for the Texas Limestone Quarry, or whatever that's called over there, just on the other side of the fence. Here we go on the Camp Creek Loop. This loop will follow along the border of the park like we've been doing, but then it cuts over into the woods, and we'll take a pretty good walk along the creek bed through the woods. This creek down this far most of the time does not have water in it, but during the wetter season it'll definitely have flowing water. So I'd expect during spring and early summer there'd be a little bit of water in there. Well, I'm sure you can tell I'm getting tired. I don't think I'm slowing down too much, but definitely not doing a bunch of walk-by shots where I got to turn around and go get my camera again. All right, so I just made a U-turn and we are now off of the property line for the first time in many miles. And believe it or not, there's a creek bed right down there. You just can't see it through all the privet. And this trail will just meander in through all these trees along the creek. And every once in a while you get a view of the creek. This is a good trail for kids, another good short one. It's a short loop, I think a mile or so, maybe a mile and a quarter. So a good trail for kids, start and end at the same spot. There's a view of the creek bed. Like I said, dry right now. Sometimes it'll have water flowing through it. Back out into the open, and here's the old bridge. This used to be the actual bridge you drove across into the state park, and they since built that one there, but this one here is kind of iconic, and you'll see the outline on it on some of like their t-shirts and stickers or logos and things like that. Back up here you can see some of the stonework, which is pretty neat, and I'm glad they preserved it even though they added this other bridge. So the Camp Creek Loop actually has a little tail, or I don't know, a little offshoot that comes off across this bridge. So we're going to walk over here by this picnic area. There's a good shot of the creek bed. Anyway, so I follow this right around here over to the picnic area and turn back around and head over to the parking lot. These meadows over here will generally tend to have some really good wildflowers, and I've seen a couple of them sticking up. I'll go see if I can get a close-up shot of them. This is right looking back toward the entrance to the park. This is the picnic area. Then you can see this little field right here is like a kickball area, or I guess you can play baseball. There's a backstop right there, and then that building back in the back, that is the entrance to the park. Like I said, hopefully coming up pretty soon. There will be some awesome wildflowers right over there. Let's go check out some of these little bluebonnets that have popped up. So finishing up this loop, over here to the left is the bathrooms, and then where those cars are parked back in the background, that's the trailhead that the Fossil Ridge Trail came out to. So once we make it back over there, we'll be done with the Camp Creek Loop. And here we go on the Spillway Trail. The Spillway Trail, I would say, is probably the most popular trail in the park. Not necessarily this section of it, but definitely the section that actually goes over to the actual spillway tend to be Quite a few people hanging out there. So maybe you can see it through the trees. That is all water down there in the creek bed. Just a little ways up the creek from where we were just hiking, and we're almost about to come out to about where I started my trip today and where we crossed the creek originally. So this section definitely tends to fill up, and it either doesn't flow over and head down the creek or ends up flowing through some faults. This water is definitely a little murkier than normal, and that's just because of all the runoff we just got. You can see this is the creek right where we crossed when we first started our trip this morning. So I'm back out at the parking lot that I parked at to start the trip, show you exactly where we are. You can see right there. So we just hiked this small section of the yellow trail. Now I'm going to jump over here on the Whitetail Hollow Trail, do this whole loop, come back to this point, and then finish out all the trails by hiking up here and to the main overlook of the park. Only a couple trails left to go. So here we go, 2 miles on the Whitetail Hollow Trail. This trail does have several little offshoots and lots of different ways you can go, and it gets real confusing. Like right here you can go that way, you can go that way. So this trail to me is definitely the most confusing, and it's probably one of the more hiked trails just because it's right here next to the Spillway Trail and right here next to one of the main parking lots. But there's lots of little loops and little cut throughs and things like that, so it's hard to remember exactly where you are on this trail. There is the start of the spillway, or the end of it, depending on how you look at it, and the start of the stonework that was done by the CCC back in the 30s. And I figure after a few more rains, you're going to be able to come out here and see this, and it's just going to be pouring over. And I've definitely been out here times where we've had huge amounts of rain, and this just be like a crazy waterfall. I'll try to link a video of at least 1 or 2 times I've been out here that there's just water just pouring over here. It's a beautiful sight during whenever the water's actually flowing off there. So straight across right there at the top of that hill is where the main overlook of the park is, and you get a really good view down here into the spillway area. Water looks a little bit nasty, but a lot of that's been trapped for several months. And whenever it does flood, you'll end up getting fish stuck right in there, which is pretty neat. And you can also hop down there, climb down, and there will be fossils and stuff down in the limestone. That section of waterfall right there, the start of the spillway or end, like I said, however you want to look at it, is super pretty whenever it has water cascading over it. So there is the spillway. And now I'm up here on top of the dam. And here we go across the dam. The park has done a ton of work over the last few years clearing out up here. This used to be super thick where I wouldn't even want to walk across here because the grass was so high and tall and thick. They have cleared all that out. Lots of trees they've cut off here. They've cleared all this section back in here to help clear out around the hiking trails. This all used to be solid trees, so they've done a ton of work, and it really opens it up. It's definitely a hot stretch during summer, I'll tell you that, but you get pretty good view off the dam. That's looking back. You can see the lime plant up there. There's the elevation marker from right here on top of the dam, 802 feet. Looks like somebody might have hit that with a lawnmower at some point. Took a chunk out of it. Right up here at the end of the dam, that's right where I crossed across to start the fishing trails, and then the fishing trails are all along that side of the lake right there. And they go all the way over to the corner. And then I hiked back across there. We made our way back and have since hiked way up into that corner of the park and all the way back up here, back up across the dam. So once I make it across the dam, the rest of the Whitetail Hollow Trail is going to be all down here in these lower areas down in the trees. So we just came down off the dam and we are headed into the trees. And this whole trail just kind of zigzags back and forth through the trees. There's lots of opportunities where you could cut the trail, but it gets really confusing. So I suggest just staying on trail and walking it out. It's only a couple miles for this whole trail, and it's pretty flat the whole way. So here we are just below where I was just hiking up on the dam. This is a lot of that area I was telling you the park is cleared out, and this trail goes in and out of this. So here we go, turning back into the woods. But if you did need a shortcut, you could just walk straight down that section all the way back to the spillway. So I am basically done with the Whitetail Hollow Trail. I just came back out of the spillway, but you have to connect back in to finish this kind of lollipop loop on the same trail you hiked out on. So I will make it back to there, and then we'll finish up with the spillway trail. Real excited, almost done. Some major erosion on this trail. So this spot right here, the Yellow Trail Ys, it comes right back together. You can go left or right. It just goes basically around this little tree island and then right back together. So I think what I'm gonna do is hike up this trail, hike all the way so I can tag the junction with the Coyote Run and the Limestone Outer Loop trails, and then I will come back and take a little break at the overlook and enjoy finishing up all these trails in one day out here. And this is the last little push straight up to the overlook. Pretty steep, really rocky, but definitely the best view in the park from up here. Here's a little better overview of kind of what the layout looks like on the spillway. A lot of rock work done on both sides. You can see it eventually makes it all the way down there to the creek. And there are several places to hop down here and check it out. We'll jump down right here. That way we can see in both directions, toward the lake and toward the spillway. So this is pretty steep. If you bring kids up here, definitely want to be in front of them or hang on to them. But there you go. There's the look over the lake, down the spillway, and continues on down that direction. I think I got about a quarter mile more to go till I get to the trail junction to finish it up. And once I do that, I'll have about 3/4 of a mile to turn back around and make it back to my truck. And here is the trail junction. Here's that sign that I stood back up earlier. That's the end of it. That was every mile of every trail out here. And now I get to turn around and head back. I'm taking the other half of this Y back over to the start of the Yellow Trail. So I guess technically this is the last of the trails, but it was only like 50 yards or something. Anyway, almost back to the truck. I decided not to really stop too much for a break. Instead, I'll just make it to the truck and head home and get some lunch. It'll be a little late for that. Well, there you go, guys. It is straight up 1 o'clock, so I walked from 7:30 this morning till 1 p.m. and a couple little tiny breaks in there, road walks, things like that. and I will throw up the stats to exactly how many trail miles I did, how many I had to redo, how many I did total, you know, all that sort of thing. When I get home, I'll figure it out. Anyway, this is something I've been wanting to do for a long time now, and I live 10 minutes away, and I was finally able to get some time to get out here and get it done. So yeah, that's every mile of every trail at Cleburne State Park. Really good place to come out and get a little walk in, and enjoyed it. Not too many people out on the trail this morning. Great weather. Starting to get a little warm now. Spring is in the air. It is hiking season, so get out and enjoy the trails. Thanks for following along, and we'll see you later.